Hello and welcome to the Through the Decades January 2026 Premodern Monthly, coming to you from Through the Decades in Louisville, Kentucky. For our January monthly, we had a solid 23 players come out to play, leading to 5 rounds of Swiss and a cut to the top 8. The pricing for this event was a set of Odyssey for first, a set of Torment for second, a set of Judgment for third, and $200 for fourth. Also, this event was held before the banning of Parallax Tide on January 18th, so this will be the last month we'll see that card abused. As you can see from the screenshot, we also handed out some sweet altered duresses, courtesy of community member Aaron, who was stoked to throw in some prize cards to sweeten the deal. But for now, we'll be watching the round 1 feature match between Brad on Green White Enchantress and Ben on Reanimator. So let's take a look at those deck lists right now. Alright, and it looks like we've got Brad's deck up first. He's on a fairly stock list of Green-White Enchantress. It looks only to be a couple cards off from the winning LobsterCon list that Rich Shea played. Now, I'll be completely honest, I am an aficionado for this deck. I absolutely love it. Austin also has played this deck. He's on the horn with us as well today. Austin, what do you think about this list?
Yeah, this looks pretty close to a stock list. Looking just right off the bat, I see two opalescents. I know some decks play two, some play three. Uh, I see three Sterling Grove and three Swords to Plowshares, so I know that's kind of a number that can get switched around. I also see two solitary confinements. That's also very interesting. So it looks like Brad was expecting more of an aggro metagame going into this, so he wanted two solitary confinements in the main board.
That's definitely a metagame call there. Also, I did notice only 3 Wild Growths, which is a little different. I like playing 4 personally. However, dealer's choice on that. Otherwise, it looks pretty straightforward. I will say there's a lot of contention in Enchantress players between the 3-3 split on Wave, Opalescence, or 3-2. I know personally I play 3-3, but I can't fault anyone for shaving off one of the Opalescence. It just depends on where you want to pick up your percentages on what match. Now the sideboard, a little out there, a little different than what I normally see. However, let's see here. We've got 2 Aura of Silence, 2 Carpet of Flowers, 2 Gaia's Blessing, 2 Karmic Justice, 3 Xanad Swarms, and then a bunch of singletons. Sabo's Web, the 4th Swords to Plowshares, the 2nd Replenish, and an Enlightened Tutor to be able to fetch up those silver bullets that you want to sideboard in, or just to be able to protect yourself from discard or other hate like that.
Yeah, with the Enlightened Tutor and the three Sterling Groves, it looks like Brad really does value the getting his combo pieces as fast as humanly possible to help try to lock the game out quicker.
Yeah.
That's what I'm pulling from this 75.
And also, I see here, fortunately, since he's using an Enlightened Tutor as well, that does double the amount of Sabo's Web in his deck if he's playing against something like Terraponza Oath or Terrageddon, decks that have lots of uh, lands with activated abilities. The Sabo's Web can certainly help against that. So he gets to double up on that, which is pretty useful. Now, a lot of these cards aren't going to be very useful against his opponent today. His opponent is Ben on Reanimator. Those Gaia's Blessings secretly can target your opponent's cards in their graveyard, so at least he'll have a little bit of play there. But otherwise, a lot of these cards are so-so at best. All right, and now we don't actually have Ben's list for Reanimator, so we are using an approximation from MTG Top 8. But the thing about Reanimator is a lot of, suit it to your own self. But a lot of the game plan remains the same. Putrid Imps, Dark Rituals, Cabal Therapies, using ways to get your big fat creatures like a Chroma, Phantom Shoba, Visara, Rorik's Bladewing, sometimes even Multani, into the graveyard, and then use these reanimation spells like Reanimate, Exhume, or Animate Dead to get them into play as quickly as possible. So you can cheat this beef into play before your opponent has the counterplay to interact with them or stop you from killing them. Now, this deck generally does pretty well game 1, because the cards that are very good against it, like Tormod's Crypt or Phyrexian Furnace, generally are in the sideboard. So Graveyard Hate isn't as prevalent in the main deck, unlike in, what's that format we call? It's Legacy that was ruined by Reanimator for a while. Is that right, Austin? You're the Legacy player.
Yeah, we had to deal with Reanimator for quite a few years, but at the time of this, Entomb just got banned a few months ago, so the Reanimator menace is subsided for now.
Well, there you go. Now, we don't have to deal with Entomb right now. I know a lot of people were hoping that that was something that could come off the ban list soon. We've seen actually an uptick in Reanimator without Entomb, so it might make it even more powerful if someone did that. So this might be a healthy place for the deck at this point. But what do you think about its matchup against Enchantress?
Uh, this is going to be a very interesting uh, set of matches, I think. Game one, I feel like I'm going to be on Reanimator's side. Really, the only play that Enchantress has is Seal Cleansing for an Animate Dead, if that's the way that Reanimator has to bring their fatty back from the yard.
Mhm.
Um, Solitary Confinement, I don't think there's a way that this deck can get through it. So if Brad is able to slam a Solitary Confinement early enough and be able to feed the upkeep cost on it, Reanimator's going to have a tough time for that. But I
Also,
think
Swords to
I
Plow.
give
Oh, sorry. Please
I think
continue.
I give game one to Reanimator, and then it's going to be interesting in the sideboard.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, Enchantress does also have Swords to Plowshares and Parallax Wave to deal with some of these creatures. Actually, none of them have Hexproof in the main. Now, I don't know if he's playing any Multanis in the main, or Spirit of the Night is another card that some Reanimator decks play with Pro White, which cleanly sidesteps all of the aforementioned cards, except for the Solitary Confinement, of course. I think the Confinement lock is pretty solid there, although hopefully a Reanimator player is playing some form of Naturalizes or Tranquil Domain if they're not playing too many enchantresses or enchantments themselves. So we'll have to see what's going on with that though. So we can start that match right now. All right, and it looks like Brad is fanning down his mull to 6. Now I see what it looks like. Wild Growth, Mary's Guile, Argothan Enchantress in his hand, which is pretty solid. Two other white cards. Looks like Ben's on the play here and leading off City of Brass and Putrid. Do I see Pernicious Deed in his hand?
That's what I was seeing as well. That's
Huh.
a interesting card to have in here.
Now, having Pernicious Deed in there probably means that he's not playing Animate Dead.
Yeah, that would be my
It'd
guess.
be a little bit of a non-bow, although the uh, the Putrid Imp right there, Brad knows immediately what he's facing off against. And Ben's going to probably know what he's facing off against, seeing a Windswept Heath into a Wild Growth. Not a lot of decks play that combination.
Mhm. And I also think I only saw one land in Brad's hand, so it looks like he's also going to be on the hunt for some more mana.
Well, fortunately, he does have 3 anchors in his hand, so as long as he doesn't get Cabal Therapied into the dirt, which could very well happen here. I see, okay, I was right. He did have main deck Multani and
And
a
it looks like
Life
he's got a
Death.
life death.
Okay, which, for the record, is a one-sided reanimate. Costs 1 and a black. You can reanimate a creature from your graveyard, unlike reanimate, which can hit any graveyard. But it does have the split card life on there as well, which turns all of your lands into 1/1 creatures, which I don't know why you would do that. But hey, it's
Yeah,
something
if you
I
ever
can
need
do.
the last little bit of points of damage to go through,
Yeah.
you may be able to sneak it out with a life.
Now, Brad drawing a Sarah Sanctum here, which is pretty solid for him, letting him drop that Enchantress and the Miri's Gal to get the train rolling there. Now I can look at the top 3 cards of his deck, stack it, and I think I saw him draw Windswept Heath.
Yeah,
So he'll be able to
but
pick
it
the
looks
best of his cards and then ship away the rest.
but it looks like he also has a swords and a parallax wave in his hand, which will do very little against this Multani.
Yeah, those are 2 very dead cards in this moment. Now, Brad's got, what, 4 cards in his hand, and Ben, I cannot speak to what he's got in his hand, maybe 4 or 5, so that Multani is probably an 8 power creature. We're going to see
Yep,
real
that's
quick
pretty
as soon
beefy.
as, all right. 9 is what I hear. So yeah, 4 and 4 it looks like. Well, I'd feel bad from having a second City of Brass there, but Enchantress is certainly one of those decks that does not put any pressure on your life total, so this is inconsequential.
Yeah, it looks like it's just a bunch of air on top of Brad's deck as well. He doesn't have a very good avenue to play to here off the
Yeah.
top of his deck.
He's probably going to play that fetch land, crack, go get a, I would guess a forest, then cast that
Hmm.
wild growth he just drew, and see if he can get something. Now, it is important to say here that Multani does not have trample, so if he's really worried about dying, he can stem the bleeding by blocking for a turn with the Argothian Enchantress. It feels awful, don't get me wrong,
You
but
got to do what you got to do
des-
sometimes.
desperate times call for desperate measures. And drawing another Swords to Plowshares. Draw there. Okay, exploration.
Trigger, so I saw one green floating.
Okay, so the Enchantress's presence actually helps there.
Yeah, that'll help him snowball.
He's got one green floating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white. So he
Look,
could play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could play the Enchantress's presence, draw one card, leaving him with 2 white floating. Sorry, 3 white floating. And there could be an argument made for just going swords, swords on the Putrid Imp just to dump some cards out of the hand. I know it's not exciting, but at this point,
White mana.
you got to get cards out of your
So
hand.
tap that for 5, and I had one green floating still left from that because I'd use
right.
2 of it.
Also, looks like Brad is helping us out by bringing out the green and white energy cards to help represent his mana.
I do appreciate that from him. I'll be honest, when I do that, we are just going with a Parallax Wave here instead. Now, he does have another land drop, if I remember correctly, because he played the Sanctum last turn. We've got an Exploration in play. Okay.
Okay, so it looks like he is sorting the Putrid Imp. So now Ben will have to find another way to discard his fatties if he wants to try to reanimate a second creature.
Go ahead.
All right, and Brad just passing turn. He may have forgotten that he hadn't played a second land there, which can happen.
Very understandable with this deck. There's a lot of moving pieces, and it can be very tough to track what you've done and what's happened so far in a turn.
Oh yeah, no, I will constantly have dice sitting on the tail going, okay, I've played one land for exploration, one land here, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of moving pieces. All right. And Ben tapping for 4 mana. Oh yeah, he has that Pernicious Deed in his hand.
Like,
This
I
is going
wonder
to
if
be
the
disgusting. Meanwhile, I can hear myself abusing the Tide combo in the background and feeling bad for my opponent. Oh yeah, that is unfortunate here. And that Deed for 2,
Yep,
I
that's gonna be
think.
very close to wrapping all of Brad's permanence. He gets to leave a wave, and that's about it. Yeah, unfortunately, he can't save anything with his wave.
Yeah.
So, and then
All right, Ben attacking
yep,
for
here comes
5.
Yep, I don't see a way Brad can get out of this one, unfortunately.
Uh, I think Brad's actually he could play Sylvan Library and then Presence, but otherwise, yeah. And I think Brad sees the writing on the wall though, and decided that it might just be best to go 2 sideboards. So let's take a peek at his list and see exactly what we think he's going to bring in and cut. All right, now coming to the board here, let's see what Brad might bring in. Like I said in the deck tech here, Guy's Blessing could be helpful in sniping some cards out of the graveyard. Seeing that Pernicious Deed, I think I might think about bringing in those Karmic Justices as well to punish Ben for blowing up the board by blowing up all of his permanents. Otherwise, the fourth Swords could be good. However, if Multani is the beef in question, it's not going to be the most helpful. Otherwise, a case could be made for Replenish. Although I think that's a little
Yeah.
slow. What do you think?
It's like maybe you want a couple Aura Silence. I can't imagine it though. Like you're saying, with what just happened with the deed, maybe you want that in to make D cost 5. But I agree with everything else that you're saying. I think the Karmic Justice, the Guy's Blessings, and the Swords are definite includes, and a good case could be made for Replenish.
Yeah. Now, we didn't see any hand disruption in game one. I don't think we saw a Cabal Therapy or a Duress even. Just Ben just naturally going for everything. And then using that Pernicious Deed to clean up, which again was absolutely disgusting in that game.
Yeah.
Now,
What would you
obviously,
take out here?
ooh, that is a good question. So my knee-jerk reaction wants to be something like a solitary confinement, but that could be pretty useful against duress and therapy. Uh, although I guess my natural first thoughts are going to be things like Sterling Groves.
Those were my first cuts. I think I agree with you. I think you want to keep one in just for the corner case that you can block out with that if the game goes long enough, but I
Yeah,
definitely don't think you need both.
yeah. I think that's a good idea. So you could cut. Now you may want to leave one Sterling Grove in just as a way to keep the full lock going. Which the full lock that you can do, by the way, in case you're not aware, you can do Parallax Wave and Opalescence with a solitary confinement, and then what you can just do is blink out your solitary confinement in your upkeep with that trigger on the stack, then put it back into play to skip your draw step. That way you don't draw out and you can't be the target of spells or abilities. Now, if you leave a Sterling Grove in play, you can hide that under the Parallax Wave before you do all your combo, and then protect it just by blinking out the wave. And that's if obviously your opponent, if you can't attack through for any reason, or say your opponent is an arbitrarily high life total that you can't break. All right, and just like before, we don't have a list for Ben, so we're going to have to kind of speculate on what he may have. Probably a safe bet would be more Shroud Fatties, maybe an additional Multani or two, maybe some Spirit of the Knights. Naturalize, of course, out of this filler list that we have could be pretty good. Stronghold Gambit's also a pretty solid card. Austin, you were talking about that. Now, what exactly does that do?
Yeah, so both players will reveal a creature card from their hand, and the creature with the lowest converted mana cost will be put onto the battlefield. The good thing about that is that Enchantress only has those 4 Argothian Enchantress, and they usually want to play those guys as fast as humanly possible. So there's a good chance that Ben can just play that Stronghold Gambit, and Brad does not have a creature put in, and Ben can just put in whichever fatty he would like to. So that's a good way to get around Graveyard Hate. Just having a show and tell like effect out of the sideboard would be good.
That does seem pretty solid. Plus, he could also back it up with a little Cabal Therapy. Just take a little peek at the hand first. It's almost like cheating, except it's fair game right here. So now you can tell that they don't have the Enchantress, or you just name the Enchantress on the therapy, and then Stronghold Gambit your disgustingly large creature into play. We'll have to see exactly what he does when we get back to this game right now. All right, we're resolving mulligans in game 2 here. It looks like Ben is mulliganing down to 5. However, as Reanimator is an A plus B combo deck, and lots of ways to discard their fatties and lots of ways to get them back into play, it's not unlikely that he would be able to do something quote unquote unfair, even on a mold of 5.
Yeah, Reanimator is one of those decks that can come back from a mold of 5 very easily.
Yeah. Now, Brad's starting off with a Miri's Guile, one of the anchors that this deck needs to play. Just for a real quick explanation, because I'm sure we didn't go over that in the deck tech, anchors are what Enchantress players like to call the important cards they want to have in play, be it Miri's Guile, the Enchantress effects, Presence, or Orgothian, and then Sylvan Library sometimes counts as the hidden 13th anchor. So Brad looking like he's got double Presence and Miri's Guile, so that's pretty good for him. However, I think I see Ben did draw a Cabal Therapy. So we're going to hope, beyond all hope, that he does not get therapied for those. That is the absolute worst feeling. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me numerous times.
It's also probably not a good feeling seeing his opponent put an Acroma into the graveyard with that careful study, along with an Exhume, meaning that he's already got more than enough reanimation spells in hand that he doesn't feel like he needs a second one.
Yeah, now that does feel bad, but we can see Brad does have a Swords to Plowshares in his hand at least. Now, it would go without saying, Ben does have his graveyard in the wrong order. The cards get discarded, then the Careful Study goes on top. Premodern being a format where the graveyard order matters for cards like Kravikan Horror, Phyrexian Furnace, Shallow Grave. Brad's not playing any of those cards, so no issue of game integrity here, but it's certainly one of those things that we can call out when we see it, but no harm, no foul here.
Yep. And it looks like Brad is going to leave up that white mana for that swords, fully anticipating a hasted Acroma is going to be attacking him here very soon.
Yeah. Also, I'll point out that he did play that fetch land, so it seems like he does not want the other two cards on top of his deck. I did not catch what they were, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I didn't see them either. Right. Undiscovered Paradise, second Exhume. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it looks like Ben is going to be gaining some life here.
Exactly. Which is exactly where Brad wants to be in this moment. Because now there's 2 reanimation spells out of the way, and one of the fatties off a mold of 5. So it looks like Ben did put a lot of work into getting that Acroma into play. Being able to answer it for 1 card and 1 mana is incredibly efficient.
There we go. It's on your untap is when it comes back. Oh, it is? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm the dial.
All right, looks like Wave, a fetch land, and a basic.
Go ahead.
And there's one of the presents.
There we go. And now he's got his second engine in play.
Yep. Undiscovered Paradise will bounce back to his hand in his upkeep. Or in his untap step.
Yes, in his
Excuse me.
untap step. Yeah, so with Stasis in play, you do not return your Undiscovered Paradise. Which is another weird corner case.
You seem to find a lot of those weird corner cases in Premodern.
Yes.
Just part of the charm.
I don't think I could have put that better myself.
I mean, I already. Sure.
All right, we've got Wave, Swords, and the basic.
I'll play the Sylvan Library.
Let's see.
Yeah, Brad must be very happy about seeing no fatty hitting the graveyard this turn.
Yeah, no fatty and no way to put them into the graveyard even.
Yeah. Looks like Ben is just going to be stalled out until he finds a discard outlet. And it looks like Brad is just going to be getting his engine even more online by playing a second presence here.
Yeah. Presence and trigger.
So
And a Karmic Justice. There we go. That's gonna... It looks like we've got a reader there. A Karmic Justice, if I remember correctly, says if an opponent would destroy a non-creature permanent of yours, you can destroy a permanent of theirs. Paraphrasing, of course. So the important part there is non-creatures. So if Opalescence is in play, then Tranquil Domain will blow up all of your enchantments, and you get to blow up one of their things. If Opalescence is not in play, then you can pretty much obliterate their side of the board. I see Ben has a Multani in hand and is therapying himself for that.
there we go.
Multani, again, Graveyard Order a little... Oh. Brad...
Looks like
not fixing, but just making sure it says target player, because he had targeted himself. And it looks like we're going to get an Exhume as well.
Yeah, so not the ideal way that you want to discard one of your guys, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Exactly. I'm going to bet Brad is not loving seeing that Pernicious Deed. However, Karmic Justice is at least going to help stem the bleeding a little bit there.
Yeah,
Now,
Brad looks like
I'm sorry.
It's like he's mapping out this turn. Yep, it looks like he's going to slow down because of the Pernicious Deed.
I can't disagree with that play, making sure that he doesn't just get absolutely blown out.
Yeah.
And Brad's going to do what a lot of players do in this situation and block with his face. Especially the Enchantress players, unfortunately. We're not known for having a lot of blockers.
No. Blocking is not something we do very well.
We'll be completely honest. I can't say that I've never blocked with my Enchantresses.
Yeah.
But it is very rare.
So we have an expiration. Looks like he drew 2 more lands as well.
Yes.
But looks like Brad is going to start committing more permanents to the battlefield here.
So I got to draw 2 more. I see. Oh, okay. And this is where we can argue for the replenish right now. Unfortunately, he's going to take a lot of damage going down from this Multani hit, but if that deed does activate, he does have that replenish to help essentially rebuild after getting his board wiped.
Yeah, it looks like we're keeping expiration land drop counts with turning over the expiration. That's a good way to symbolize if it's been used or not.
Yeah. Again, just that standard pre-modern player heuristic there, especially with Quirion Rangers, Wirewood Symbiotes, and now Exploration, just sort of to indicate that, yes, this one's gone. I know some Enchantress players will put dice on there to indicate how many lands they've played. I've also seen some put how many lands they have left, which I hate.
Yeah, the way that I do it is I always put how many land drops I have made.
Yes.
On my expirations. That's just always been my way. I also play lands a lot in Legacy. So I learned that from there and just brought it over to the pre-modern space as well.
I mean, I'm right there with you. I also loved that deck as well in Legacy. So the Lands players, Enchantress players crossover is a little bigger than we thought apparently.
Yeah. Looks like Brad is gonna at this point. It looks like he needs to find a solitary confinement or a opalescence to make these enchantments guys to block Multani.
Yes. A
Um,
double rich. Are we powering out a gigantic pernicious deed?
that's my thought. Yeah. So yeah, here it comes.
So that's 5, 6, 7. So we can deed for 4. Now that's gonna nuke all of his lands.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna blow up everything outside of the Multani. Multani having Shroud. So
Yes. Now Ben's got to feel pretty good about this, but this replenish is about to hit so hard.
yes, but that's also gonna waste a lot of Brad's mana. Maybe he won't be able to capitalize on bringing everything back if he's not able to either like he has to get his hand down to 2 cards in hand or again find a way to block or
Yeah.
have a solitary confinement. I gotta say I'm not a big fan of where Brad's board position right now, but let's see
Oh,
if he's able to get out of this.
it's not enviable, but at least he's able to tap this for 6 mana. It looks like. So he's
Yeah.
gone from 6 mana to 8 mana. So the replenish is amusingly enough ramping him up. So I'm gonna draw 2 cards. 1, 2. There's another presence.
Presence and a brushed land.
Trigger, trigger. There's the solitary confinement.
Solid
And
presence. Okay.
there's your land.
All right. Looks like we are now using the dice method on the expirations. So Brad heard us in the post, and he's switching up his way of indicating land drops.
I'll have to thank him later for listening to us after the fact. But to be completely honest, I hate to call the advantage bar suddenly teetering over to the other side, but now that Brad's been able to get this solitary confinement into play, I don't feel very good for Ben's chances. And
Yes.
wait, looks like Brad's now back to flipping his explorations. So he's decided that since we called him out for listening to us, not to do it anymore. I guess. Also, that has to be very confusing for Multani. Like we're thinking like the flavor wise, like Multani's just sitting there watching things get more and more powerful, and he feels really strong. Like, hey, this feels great, and then now he's back down to a 7/7. Like, oh, now I'm just okay. We're gonna do a bunch of things. I'm gonna feel good, and then suddenly worse at the end.
Yeah.
Discard. He does get to spin the Mary's Guile.
Yep.
Oh, now he's okay. He's got the Opalescence in his hand as well. This is all but locked up. I would not be surprised to see this Opalescence get cast and Ben just pack him in.
Yeah. This Brad has the lock. It's just how far does he want to dig, or does he just want to play it now? Yep. It looks like he's content to just play the Opalescence now, and let's just get this game done and over with.
Yeah. Because right now he's got what, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 21, 25 power.
Yeah, that's what I'm counting up. Though I do suspect he'll keep the solitary confinement back. Don't put that in harm's way.
Thinking before I finish there.
Yeah.
That is a safe line to take. However, you can just exile it with your Parallax Wave. So you can
Yes,
swing
definitely.
pretty safely. There we go.
So those are my
Yeah.
attackers.
It's going to be a pretty easy block on the wave itself.
Yeah, but
Oh, he's blocking the aura. Okay, well,
Move it.
no matter what he blocks, yeah, we're gonna
yeah,
exile. Yeah, and
yeah,
Ben sees the writing on the wall here, and packs it in for game 3. All right, it looks like we've got some keepable hands. Ben is mulliganing to 6. And looks like he'll be on the play, though, so let's see exactly what kind of fat creature he can get in.
yep. I saw a Chroma right on the top of his hand, so I would not be surprised to see that discarded here to this careful study. It also looks like a Multani. That's the ideal target, as we've
Yes.
seen in these last few games.
And Brad starting off on exploration into Fetchland. As a recovering lands player from Legacy, that just warms my heart.
Yeah, quite a different deck nowadays, but go back to this, you can still just play 2 lands a turn, and it feels good.
All right, and Ben's tapping his gemstone mine for some mana. Let's see, probably a reanimation effect. Yep, reanimate.
Yep.
So we are losing 6 life here, going to 13.
And I would not be surprised if that Multani's sitting at 10-10 right now or something very close to that.
Yeah. Now,
So
I see Brad, unfortunately for Ben, at least in this moment, Brad has double Enchantress effect and a solitary confinement in his hand. So he's got a solitary confinement, and as long as the top of his deck is anywhere near kind to him, a way to feed it. So Ben's going to want either a naturalize or a pernicious deed pretty quickly.
First land for turn, second land for turn.
yeah, it looks like the grip is Brushland, Argothian Enchantress, Enchantress's Presence, Solitary Confinement. Not a bad 4 cards to have in this situation.
Exactly. Now, I will say it is a little unfortunate for him the way things have shaken out here. He cannot play 2 spells.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to figure out the best way to do this. Enchantress math, once it starts getting into these later turns, it can get very, very hairy, and you have to do a lot of thinking ahead to try to maximize your plays.
Later turns, it's turn 2.
Yeah, later turns. You're playing against Reanimator. Turn 2 is definitely the mid game, if
Oh
not
yeah,
getting close to the late game.
he's certainly in the mid game at this moment. You're not wrong. I just had to laugh at the usage of the phrase later turns when he's on his second turn, but he does have 4 mana in play, so exploration is a hell of a drug. Phyrexian Negator.
Oh, Negator. Okay, sorry,
Uh,
didn't recognize the art there.
That is the
that is
dual
quite
decks.
the good score. Yes, the highly controversial reprint of Phyrexian Negator.
We don't talk about that.
But yes, the swerve in the sideboard. So that's another good swerve for this. If you're able to play against a deck that doesn't really do blocking very well, i.e., this Enchantress deck,
Confinement trigger.
Gator can do some big damage pretty quickly.
Oh, and Brad's deck was unkind to him here.
Yeah, 2
Not
lands
giving
off the
him.
top.
Yeah, that is
That's rough.
unfortunate.
Yeah, so he doesn't have an enchantment to keep the train rolling. So this solitary confinement is going to eventually eat itself
Yeah. So it looks like
down
Brad
to
is
nothing.
just gonna crack here and then be able to play his Argothian Enchantress to have 3 Enchantress effects in play. And you know what? Sometimes solitary confinement is just a fog. And that's
Yes,
looking
and
like exactly what it's going to be.
yeah,
Look,
and
I've
at this
played a
point
lot
as
of
well,
Moments Piece, so this is exactly what it is,
yeah.
just a flashback Moments Piece. I'm sorry, what were you going to say? We
It,
keep
so
running over each other.
yeah, no problem. This Voltani's also going to be pretty small right now. Brad only has 1
Yes.
card in hand. Looks like Ben only has 1, maybe 2. Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy play to just let that die.
Oh, and that is a presence off the top.
Yep. And now this, yep, drawing Ancestral Recall, and then we can see if we can just snowball from here.
Yeah, now he just gets full fat accumulated knowledges.
On the Justice 4 triggers.
3, 4. Let's see here. So he's gone 3, so he tapped that. 1, 2, 3. So he doesn't have any white floating. He shouldn't.
First land.
Yep. Well, it looks like I see at least 1 more Sayer Sanctum in hand, so white mana should not be a limiter for most of this turn.
Brad is getting to hit commander levels of mana.
Hmm.
All right, another exploration, a seal of cleansing, a wave.
Looks like he's going to play a second
Action, 4 triggers.
expiration.
So he's played
At this
1
point,
land this
we're
turn.
looking for see if we kept it a second solitary confinement or a replenish to bring that solitary confinement back.
He could also just Sterling Grove, crack, and go get a Opalescence to go with that wave in his hand if he's got enough enchantments, because he's got 6 right now and 2 white floating.
And then there's my 3rd land. Roll 4 triggers.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's got 7, so he can play the. Oh, he can. Okay, if he's got another solitary confinement. There we go.
He does. Okay.
Apparently, we can hear some scumbag bragging about maybe getting up to 3-0. Somebody was thinking they were going to do really well in this event. We'll have to see if you make it to feature rounds later, I guess.
4 triggers.
3, 4. Right down to 1. 3, 4. Now, to comment on another corner case here, your brush lands suddenly get much better with a parallax, or not with parallax, with a solitary confinement in play because they do damage to you. Which parallax, or excuse me, again, solitary confinement prevents all damage that would be dealt to you, including from the pain lands.
Yeah, so you can basically play your own Savannah now. I don't know why people spend the hundreds of dollars to buy those original ones when you could buy a brush land and solitary confinement for probably less than $1, if not a couple dollars now. I didn't see everything that Brad discarded, but it's probably more cards than are probably needed to end this game for him.
It was a bunch of lands, a bunch of swords, 2 Enchantress effects. I believe 1 Presence and 1 Argothian, and maybe a Miri's Guile?
He's got a lot better eyes than I do.
I just pay attention.
Discarding. Flex land.
I do also appreciate Brad's ability to remember solitary confinement, both the discard and the do not draw trigger, without
Yes.
having the dice
Four
on top.
triggers.
That is something that I know I always have to have the dice to remind me of that. So Brad not needing that, very, very commendable.
Yes. Now, one of the things that could be a little dangerous here, but you can play around, is drawing yourself out. Now, something you can do as an Enchantress player is if you have Opal Wave in play, you can hide your Enchantress's presence so you don't draw the cards off of that, because those are not may triggers. Those are must triggers. So as you can tell, Brad is going to probably somewhere in the neighborhood of less than a dozen cards left.
Target him.
Yeah, I would say about
Priority.
8 to 10 cards left in deck. So
Yeah.
he only has a couple. Yep, looks like he is also
So basically,
trying
I'm
to
putting
see
a
that as
trigger
well.
onto the stack of removing
And
that
Brad is
from play.
explaining the
Right.
combo
And
here
then I'm
between
going
the
to remove
Opal
itself
Wave.
from play.
Uh,
So when it's
and just to clarify
then
here,
it's going
so
to
Parallax
bring
Wave,
back
as with all the Parallax
anything that
cards,
was removed
has
with
a
it,
trigger
but
that
it's
says,
still a trigger on the stack. So
exile
you're removing
something,
it.
and
So
then
when it removes
when it
itself, comes back
leaves,
in,
they
that's
come
all
back. It's the
done.
old
Then
templating for like Mesmeric Fiends or other cards like that. So if it leaves before the first trigger
and then
happens, then the leaves
go
battlefield
to
trigger
attack.
happens, and then the exile forever
So
gets rid of
these
it.
are all new.
A little clunky way of explaining it, but it's brutal. And yeah, that's
Speaking of
12,
brutal,
13, 14, 15, 16. We can block 3 of it and go to exactly dead.
So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, that's right. Okay.
All right, we got the handshake here. And look at Brad got it 2-1. All right, it looks like they cut off the video pretty quickly after the match was over, so we are back at these wonderful duresses that Aaron made for us. But that's going to be it for round 1 for the January Premodern Monthly, and we'll be back later with more Premodern action from Through the Decades in Louisville, Kentucky.